Yanis Varoufakis, the former Minister of Finance of Greece, joined UATV's Dasha Veshelenko to discuss world economic challenges and the IMF's role in supporting developing countries.
Yanis, where do you think the next economic crisis will occur?
It will come from this nexus between the United States, China and Europe. Europe is exporting deflation and destabilizing global capitalism. China is desperately trying to keep reflating the Atlantic economies. We've had a massive boom in credit in China, which was intentional, and it took the slack in 2014. So the current bout in growth is Chinese-driven, but they cannot continue to do this. They have an investment ratio of 48%, which is completely and utterly unsustainable. Whereas in Europe and the United States, our investment rates are very, very low. Something is going to have to give there. Either the United States and Europe are going to get their acts together and boost investment, or we're going to have a crisis. It's impossible to know how it's going to strike, but it is possible to know that it will.
Well, my next question was when it would strike, but you've already answered that. Which economy has the perfect or close to ideal economic policy? What country is the most successful?
China is a country that we all have a debt of gratitude, or should have a debt of gratitude to. In 2008, it cranked up aggregate demand internationally and helped, together with the central banks that started printing money, prevent the Great Recession from becoming another Great Depression. They keep doing it. They have exhausted their capacity to do it. I think they have demonstrated a great degree of sensibility, and I only wish that Europe and the United States were half as smart and wise as the Chinese were.
Why didn't the IMF leadership like you?
I don't believe this is true.
Yeah.
I had a very good personal relationship with Christine Lagarde. Indeed, the first time I met with Paul Thompson, who was the man responsible for the European desk of the IMF. It was an incognito, behind-the-scenes meeting, and he said that he agreed with me on everything. If anything, he said that I was being too moderate in terms of what I was demanding for the Greek debt restructure. In private discussions with many of the people in the International Monetary Fund, we saw eye to eye. The problem was that the International Monetary Fund had been lured into a devilish agreement on Greece in 2010 by the Europeans and by the European leadership of the IMF. So you have to remember the IMF is split between its leadership, its research department, its staff. It's not one thing. And once they got trapped into the Greek program, into effectively giving the largest loan in the history of the IMF to the most bankrupt country without restructuring the debt first, they broke one of their fundamental rules. And like, you know, every crime, once you commit a crime, then you have to commit a second crime to cover up the first crime. So the IMF, by the time I became finance minister, were in a very difficult situation. Well, not as difficult as my people, but from their standards, in the sense that when they were talking to me in private, they agreed with what I said. But then at the very same time, they would say, but you know what? We have this commitment to this terrible program, and we can't go back from it. Now, I had a commitment to people who were starving, and I was not going to let them off the hook. So there was a clash, but there was no dislike. It was their tragedy for having become part of something they understood, and they still understand, was a mistake.
It was cool. Thanks so very much.